Excellencies, honorable ministers, ambassadors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and good morning to you all. My name is Manal Bernoussi. I'm an international MC and moderator from Morocco, and it is a great honor to stand before you all today and welcome you to the very first edition of the Africa Gulf Cooperation Dialogue by Choiseul, held here in Doha under the aegis of the government of Qatar and in partnership with the Doha Forum. Today, we bring together the Choiseul Africa community along with key decision makers, investors, and thought leaders from across the Gulf region to connect, to exchange, and to build bridges between our two thriving regions. Africa brings immense assets to this partnership. The world's youngest population, vast renewable energy potential, 30% of the planet's critical minerals, and a growing urban and digital consumer base. And the Gulf, of course, brings industrial capabilities, capital depth, logistics leadership, innovation, and a bold vision for energy and economic diversification. So there is strong complementarity there. And the momentum is real. Over the last decade, GCC countries have collectively invested over $100 billion in Africa. This is not symbolic. This is a signal of confidence and a foundation we can build on. So today is about turning this momentum into long-term collaboration, partnerships that are strategic, sustainable, and mutually empowering. Throughout the day, you will hear from thought leaders, inspiring keynotes. You will take part in high-level dynamic roundtables, as well as informal conversations, all aimed at fostering dialogue, strengthening cooperation, and sparking new collaborations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, live interpretation is available for you. You are welcome to use the language of your choice. To access the full program, simply scan the QR code that is available either on your badge or on the tabletop displays. So now, without further ado, it is my great pleasure to welcome on stage the chairman of Choiseul, Dr. Pascal Luru. Please give him a round of applause.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, honorables représentants des gouvernements et des institutions, chers amis, distingués invités.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great pleasure that we open here in Doha, in this visionary country that is Doha, the first dialogue, the first Africa-Gulf cooperation dialogue by Choiseul. We meet at a strategic timing where Africa and the Gulf see a convergence of their interests. Africa with its young population and the vitality of its entrepreneurs and innovators, and the Gulf countries that are projecting themselves into the future, into the diversification, into becoming an engine of the global growth. Two energies that share together a common dynamic and a common will to move forward towards the future. Our conviction is simple. Africa is not only a promise anymore, it's becoming an indispensable actor on the international scene. This dialogue today is the starting point of a shared ambition, of a shared vision to connect to connect our two regions, to optimize and give value to our human resources. We are not here to just talk about the future. We are here to build it together. Qatar plays today a key role in the transformation of the global economic landscape. We have seen also the investments in key sectors that are consistent with the Qatar's 2030 vision. We are very honored to be hosted in this country that is becoming a beacon for development and for innovation. I would like to thank Qatar, its leaders, and for their warm welcome, and I would like to thank all the experts and all the participants.
Africa and the Gulf together are shaping a new global powerhouse, a powerhouse driven by investment, innovation, and impact. We are here to unlock a future of shared prosperity, to build bridges that accelerate growth, and to craft a partnership that will shape the next decades. So let us be bold, let us think big, let us act together. Africa is not waiting for its moment, it is already shaping the future of global growth. Merci beaucoup, thank you very much. Enjoy and have a nice event. Shukran.
Et merci beaucoup à vous, Pascal, Luru.
Thank you, Pascal, Luru,
for your leadership and for making Choiseul a powerful platform where ideas, talent, and opportunities come together. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we will now move to our three opening keynotes, each offering a distinct regional perspective from North Africa, South Africa, and West Africa. Together, they will set the tone for today's dialogue by showing how Africa and the Gulf are converging at a pivotal moment, and how each region brings its own assets, its own ambitions, and strategic opportunities. Starting now with the northern part of our continent, our first keynote brings the perspective of the General Vice President of CGEM, representing the Moroccan private sector, and the chairman of Ask Capital, a holding company with investments mainly in the insurance sector across Africa. Please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Meditzi. Let's give him a round of applause.
In the
name of God, all merciful. معالي الوزراء، رؤساء الوفود، حضرة الأصدقاء الكرام، إنه لشرف وسرور كبير أن أقف أمامكم اليوم لكي
GCC and on the cooperation between the two countries. It's a true honor to be in Qatar today, a brother country, and actually a country that revealed Morocco as a nation of football 3 years ago, so I'm really thrilled and happy to be here. I'm going to give you my view and some facts about Africa, our region, and what I think the cooperation between the two regions can be. And I'm sure that you've heard a lot today, but also yesterday and the day before about where the country is standing. But I want to just to set the tone again and maybe repeat some of the things that have been said already. Africa, and Manal was saying it just before, is a strong, young, and growing population, but also a growing market and a market of the future. And I want to give maybe 2 or 3 figures that will emphasize what has been said. That you all know it's today about 1.5 billion people that will move to 2.5 billion in 20 years. So it's a strong and big market. But also it's a market where about 50% of the population of the world below 5 years old is in Africa, which I think is stunning. It's also a market where the average age of the population is 18 years old. But if you put it in perspective of what's happening in other parts of the world, it's 44 years old in Europe. It's 39 years old in China, and I think China has a strong challenge in the coming years, coming from the politics maybe 50 years ago of one child per family. It's 32 years old in the GCC region. So with our 18 years old as an average, the market is not only a consumer market, but it's also a market that will produce for the world in the coming years. It's also a solution to three of the major challenges that our world is facing. One is energy, and again, Manal Banoussi was saying it. Africa has 60% of the solar potential of the world. Not only the sun and the solar potential, but also the lands that will make energy produced possible in the region, which is important. It's 7 times the hydro potential of Europe, and especially in the center of Africa, close to the equator. And in Morocco, to take the example in Morocco, in wind, we are the region, one of the 3 regions in the world where the best position for wind production, energy production, with the southern part of Morocco, Sahara, again, where we have land and we have regular wind through the year. And at the time when energy is so critical, and especially with the increasing needs linked to AI and to the data storage, it's even more critical today than it was in the past. Minerals is also, and you all know that, a strong challenge, especially today, and we've seen the moves that a country like the US have made. We have, to take the example of my friends of DRC, 70% of the cobalt of the world is in DRC. 70% of the phosphate of the world are in Morocco, and probably the greatest part of lithium, and you know how critical lithium is in Zimbabwe. So again, Africa is more than well positioned for that. Agriculture, we have 60% of the arable lands of the world standing in Africa, with challenges, of course. But if someone has to feed the world, it will probably be Africa in the future. Africa has challenges, and I don't want to feel negative on that. But we all know we have those challenges, and I want to raise a few of them. Of course, we can talk of many governance in some countries, education in many, health system, etc. But I want to pick 2 that probably are, to me, the one that we as a private sector can address, but also that we as countries have a responsibility towards the continent and we have to address. One that I picked is infrastructure and energy, and I want to take, again, some few examples that I think are striking. The density of roads in Africa are 45 times less developed than in Europe. And more than 50% of the population don't have access, have an access larger than 5 kilometers to any road. One few example, my friend is from DRC, from Congo Brazzaville. There was a conference in Luanda, I think it was 3-5 months ago, followed by one in Brazzaville. So many people had to fly Luanda, Brazzaville, which is probably 200 kilometers away, one from the other. Many of them had to fly all the way to Paris, Madrid, and fly back. So 2 days to go back, while it's two countries that are one next to each other. Logistics is 3 to 4 times more expensive in Africa than it is in Europe, in Asia, or in the US. And again, one figure, commerce, cross-region commerce. In Europe, 60% of the commerce is made between European countries between themselves. In Asia, it's about 40%. In Africa, less than 15%, 15%, commerce between African countries. And we know that there is no industry without infrastructure and no industry without this energy that we all need. Of course, we have ports, we have some roads, etc., but we need more. And when people want to invest, for example, we talked about agriculture. You want to invest in agriculture, you still have to have roads to build and to extract your production and send it anywhere. So that will not happen without industry. And I think we can also take the example of Morocco. 25 years ago, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, we launched a strong project called Tangemed. All the industry that we have, especially the car industry, where today we produce about 700,000 cars, have been possible because we have this port that is connected today to 177 ports across the world. So that's possible because we have the infrastructure. No infrastructure, no industry. And most importantly, Africa is importing today anything that we consume. That has to change because from a financial perspective, it's not sustainable, it's not possible to keep importing everything. And that brings me to my second challenge, which is finance and financial inclusion. 43% of the population in Africa within the banking system, although we are the leader in mobile money, for example, but still only 43% compared to more than 90% in the GCC countries, more than 95% in Europe. Interest rates, when we are a company, we want to borrow 3 to 7% in Europe, more than 10% in Africa, and on average 18% of interest rate when you have to borrow within a bank. 42 currencies, it's quite a lot. And we have some challenges still today with devaluation, where 20 out of these 42 currencies have been devaluated more than 15% over the past 3 years, and in some places a shortage of foreign exchange. But still, with all these challenges, we are a land of opportunities, and we are the land that will build the future. And I'm sure of that. I cannot be more sure than within my own business, this is where I put my money, this is where I invested in all those countries, and today I operate in 40 of them. So I strongly believe that we are the continent of the future. Many of those countries, China, the US, India, Russia, have invested strongly in Africa. If we take the example, and of course the GCC countries, again, Manal was saying $100 billion. China is about $150 billion invested in infrastructure. Those countries invested and took part of their responsibilities because it's a strong potential within the continent. We can take example of ports. 10 out of ports in Africa have been managed or invested have been made by GCC countries. Energies, we have companies like Taqa, Aqua, hospitalities, company from the region that invested heavily also. Qatar invested in mining in the DRC and Zambia. So we have those investments. But my strong conviction is that we, all the regions of the world that have a step ahead, have to invest in Africa because we need to fix our populations. We need to be more developed. We are the continent of the future. If each one of us take his responsibility, and I'm glad to see that the GCC and especially Qatar has taken this, its share of the pie within this. Morocco can be also pivotal within this, this strategy. We have a strong financial system that have invested in Africa. Today, our banks operate in 25 countries across the continent with companies like Tijari Wafa Bank and others. Infrastructure, His Majesty the King instructed us to launch a port in Dakhla, south of Morocco, that will give access to the landlocked countries of Sahel, and it's important. And again, in energy, you know what Morocco has done. Finally, I want to talk about the Africa Free Trade Agreement that will give access, and we have a meeting next week in Marrakesh linked to this, will give access to about 1.5 billion consumers within the continent, And I think that it is one of the opportunities that will raise through this free trade agreement within the continent. Again, we are the continent of the future, and my last word will be our countries, or the big countries of the world, US, Europe, and GCC, have to invest and take their part of responsibility within Africa. It's not only, but in a win-win situation. We're not begging anymore anything. We want win-win investments, and I'm sure that the future will be bright for our continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Meditzi, for your insightful remarks. Thank you for highlighting both the strengths and challenges that lay ahead, and also for reminding us of Morocco's positioning as a strategic bridge between Africa and the Middle East. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we now continue our journey across the continent by turning to the southern of Africa. Our next keynote comes from one of the region's leading voices in the energy sector, a pioneer whose work illustrates the concrete opportunities emerging between Africa and the Gulf. She is the General Director of DLO Energy Resources Group and a champion of sustainable power solutions. Please join me in welcoming on stage Mrs. Linda Madina.
Distinguished guests, excellencies, colleagues and friends, it is an honor to join you today at a moment when the relationship between Africa and the Gulf is not only expanding, but deepening its strategic importance. I'm the founder and CEO of DLO Energy Resources Group, which is a 100% African female-owned renewable energy company that currently owns some of the largest wind farms on the African continent. I emphasize the female ownership because there are not a lot of us in this sector. So I'll say it again. I am the founder of a 100% female-owned African energy company. We are currently developing over 1.5 gigawatts of renewable energy projects across multiple African countries. And as we expand, we are actively seeking partners, both with the technical expertise, but also the financial capacity to collaborate with us. We make no apologies for our ambition. We intend to be Africa's largest female-owned energy company, but we are under no illusion that this great ambition cannot be achieved alone. Partnership is essential. We view the Gulf as an important strategic partner. Since 2012, the GCC countries have invested nearly $179 billion in Africa across sectors such as energy and infrastructure. At DLO, we are already collaborating with Saudi Arabia's Aqua Power on projects in South Africa, and we look forward to building partnerships with companies from Qatar, not only in power generation, but in EPC, grid infrastructure, and emerging technologies such as AI. The growing relationship between the Gulf and Africa is not a coincidence. The groundwork was laid decades ago through shared values, a shared history, and shared ambitions. But today, what brings our regions even closer is the shared understanding that the world is changing, and we must change with it. The recent geopolitical tensions and global challenges have shown us that no region can succeed alone. Resilience will be built through collaboration, diversification, and long-term investment. As a South African entrepreneur in the renewable energy sector, I have witnessed firsthand how these partnerships with the Gulf can transform projects and industries. South Africa's foreign policy has consistently emphasized deeper ties with the GCC countries, not just as bilateral partners, but as allies in shaping a more inclusive global economic order. But the question before us today is simple. How do we build partnerships that endure? I believe in co-creation, not charity. Africa does not seek handouts. We seek co-investment. We seek partners who build with us, not build for us. And the Gulf has shown increasing appetite for precisely this kind of engagement. Our collaboration with Aqua Power is an example of what is possible when African capacity meets Gulf finance and technology. As DLO expands across the continent, we know that achieving our goals will require partners who understand Africa, respect Africa, and are willing to invest in Africa. We may lack the abundance of capital on the continent, but we do not lack the intellect. We do not lack the experience, nor do we lack the capability. Africa comes to the table with strong partners, proven operators, and local developers who have built a track record under very complex conditions. Africa desires partnership rooted in respect and shared value. The continent currently needs about $170 billion annually to plug its infrastructure gap. And often we stand on these podiums as Africans and boast about our youth and the fact that this is an asset for the future. I take a more cautious view. If Africa fails to create jobs for its youth, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. A continent with the world's largest number of unemployed, frustrated, angry, and understandably impatient young people. I have long understood that you cannot address unemployment without addressing infrastructure. We live on a continent where 600 million Africans still lack access to reliable and clean electricity. And everyone in this room knows and understands that you cannot tackle unemployment without industrialization. And you cannot industrialize without electricity. Gulf sovereign wealth funds and private investors are uniquely positioned to help us plug this gap profitably and sustainably. Again, we are not asking for charity. We are extending an invitation to invest in a continent that is home to 20 of the fastest growing economies in the world. This is a relationship that is not only commercially attractive, but it is mutually beneficial. To unlock these opportunities at scale, we must rethink access to funding. In the energy sector, I often say there isn't a shortage of project finance, but there is a shortage of early stage development capital, which is required to unlock these projects. Many African developers, especially women-led and youth-led enterprises, struggle to reach financial close because they lack this early stage funding. Where the Gulf can be catalytic is in providing venture capital style early development funding for power projects, as well as adding to the existing blended finance vehicles and co-investment platforms. These instruments can unlock Africa's next generation of infrastructure and renewable energy projects, while delivering strong returns for investors. Distinguished guests, the partnership between Africa and the Gulf is not theoretical. It is unfolding before our eyes, and it is accelerating. But the next chapter requires ambition, it requires innovation, and it requires courage. Africa brings youth, markets, capability, and opportunity. The Gulf brings capital, technology, and its global networks. Together, we can build industries that do not yet exist, create jobs at an unprecedented scale, and drive inclusive, sustainable growth for generations. I end off my address today by quoting our former president, Thabo Mbeki, when he said, "Africa's time has come, and it will be defined by what we do together." Thank you.
Thank you very much for your powerful message.